All right, so welcome back. We have, in the previous lecture, we actually compromised the host. So we gained initial access through a combination of a valid account, specifically a default credential used for the administrator, and we gained access through exploitation of a local file include vulnerability. So basically, we just reverse engineered the Metasploit exploit, determined that it was looking for a particular password file that contained a hash, which we then searched via Google, found the plaintext credentials, and signed in. Once we gained access to the web app, we were able to then leverage a file upload, an unrestricted file upload vulnerability, and essentially generate a MSF payload, so a payload which was a JSP page, which contained a reverse shell, and when the web server downloaded that shell, it executed it and then returned the shell back to us, which is how we gained access. So if you want, the full step-by-step walkthrough on how we did that, you can go back to the previous lecture. And in this lecture, I'm going to show you now how we can escalate our privileges. So we have a shell, we've gained access to the machine. What do we do next? So again, you could do who am I, see who you are. You can check your privileges and see that you're not a member of the administrators group. So the thing I like to do next is just do a system info, right? Let's just look to see if there's any patches installed. With the host name, we've got the host. It's a Windows Server 2008 box, so it's legacy. So we know that it's it's an old machine, and it's probably vulnerable to multiple CVEs. Also, judging by the original install date, we can see it's pretty old. What else do we have here? We also can see that there are actually 0 hotfixes installed, so that means that we're going to be able to exploit this box, mainly through the use of a public exploit. So the first thing I want to do is just I'm going to get a public exploitation tool running. There are a couple of popular ones, and one of them is Watson. So let's go ahead and search Google for this. Watson Rasta Mouse is the one that we want. You can see what this does, right? If you go down to the README, it basically says it enumerates missing KBs and exploits suggested exploits for privilege escalation. But if you notice, the supported versions are Server 2016 and 2019. We are running Server 2008. So you might say, Vonnie, what's the point? We can't use this exploit. Possibly. But remember, this is GitHub. There might be an older release. So I can look for tags. I see there's only one release, which is 2.0, which is not what we want. It's too recent. If I go back, I can look at the commit history. I scroll up, click on commits. I see there's 33. And scroll down. Let's see what we have here. How far back can we go? So this looks like it's pretty old. Let's click on this one. Two years ago. And this is the .NET 2.0 compliant version. And you can see here, this is version 0.1. And this doesn't have the restriction for Windows Server 2008. So this might actually work on our version. If you notice, you might be saying, well, how do we actually run this? I mean, I don't see an executable of any kind. You click in the Watson folder, it's just a bunch of C# files and project files, and this could be intimidating. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to compile this binary. And we're going to have to do it on Windows, since this is a Windows box that we're compromising. So let's load up our Windows system and download this code. Let me just copy and paste this tree. Right click, copy, oops, Control Z, Control C. Let's flip over. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and download the zip. Going to extract this. Let's see here. Yeah, extract all. I'll name it Watson 0.1 or Watson 0.1. Now see Watson is here. And you notice the solution file is saying Visual Studio. So if you look at my computer here, you'll see I have Visual Studio 2019. The way I installed it is I just went to Google, Visual Studio, and you go to Visual Studio 2019, or the latest version, whatever that is by the time you watch this video. Close this. So you want to actually get the community edition. This is the free version. Once this downloads, you'll just execute it. Continue, and it's going to start the process. This usually takes a pretty long time. It can take 30 minutes to an hour, maybe even longer depending on your network connection. But you only need to do this once. Once we get this set up once, we can use this, this system for all of our further .NET compilation activities. Once it goes here, I already have it installed, that's why it's here, but you would just go ahead and download it and essentially set it up, the community edition. And once you do that, you're going to need .NET 2.0. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let's load Visual Studio. Actually, let's just go ahead and close this out, and let's just launch Watson. It's going to say, you should only open from a trustworthy source. That's okay. We still want to open the project. And then what we're going to want to do is build it for our environment. So if I right-click on Watson and go down to Properties, I can also press Alt-Enter to get there. You want to select the target framework. Now yours probably only shows .NET 4, 4.5, and newer, right? But we need to use 2.0. We need to figure out a way to get 2.0 into your version of Visual Studio, because I doubt you see that. And the reason we want 2.0 is because if we go back to Raster Mouse, you'll see that that was a requirement. You can see here it says .NET 2.0 compliant, right? So that's what we need, .NET 2.0. The way to get it is Google. So I just put .NET 2.0 download into Google. I'm just clicking on the .NET framework download. You want the redistributable package, okay? So we can download this. You notice it says for 64-bit right here. That's because our target is 64-bit. If we go back to it, right tab, you'll notice here it actually says it's a 64-bit PC. So we want it to be 64-bit, and we also wanted to use .NET 2.0. Right, so it downloaded here, then we just install it. Now, if you go to Visual Studio, you might have been tempted, at least I was at first, to go to install other frameworks. If you click this, this is not the right way to install it. You will go down a long rabbit hole of trying to install it, and it won't actually work. So I'm saving you the frustration. Trust me, I went through that path, and it did not work out right for me. Sometimes the most obvious path isn't actually the best path. So you might think, oh, I need to go here. I need to download like, .NET Core. Nope. Or, .NET Framework. See, 2.0 isn't even listed here, right? So, this is not the route to go. The other option, the other mistake some people make is they think, oh, I need to run the Visual Studio installer and then install it that way. Again, that doesn't work either. If I go here, all right, we can launch this installer and then we can go to modify. Right, and then you can see all these individual components on the right side. And you might think, oh, okay, well, I just need to go to like individual components, type in like, .NET, and then search for version 2.0. This is a logical path to take, but it doesn't work. First of all, 2.0 isn't here. It's not .NET Core, it's the .NET Framework. These are two different things. So .NET Core is actually a platform, a cross-platform, newer version of .NET, and we need the .NET Framework 2.0, which doesn't exist. So to save you all the time and frustration, just do it the way I showed you through Google. Okay, now once you install it, you'll reload Visual Studio and you'll see this framework here. Then we can select it, 2.0. It says, are you sure you want to change the target framework for this project? We are. And then we want to make sure that we change the build version to a 64-bit CPU. So we can go to Configuration Manager, change it from debug to release, change the CPU to 64-bit, new 64-bit, copy settings from any CPU, that's okay. Okay, close, and then we can go to build solution. All right, so this is good. When you see success, 1 succeeded, 0 failed, so we're good. And you can see it put it here. So let's go ahead and navigate to that path. Right click, copy. Let's minimize this window. Let's close this out. And let's just go there. All right, so this is the version we built, right? Now we need to host this so that we can get it to our attacker machine. I'm gonna go ahead and file. I'm gonna go to new window and new process. All right, and we're gonna start up an SMB server on our attacker machine so we can just drag and drop it. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Let's go back to the attacker box and let's go to Control B C, Control B, comma, SMB, enter. Let's see, we're in the Arctic directory. Let's go ahead and locate SMB server. We have it. This is what we need. We need the SMB server. So we're going to do sudo SMB server.py-h. See if we can look at how to actually run this. All right, so it says not found. That's okay. Just select this, right click, copy, sudo Control-Shift-B, sorry, Control-Shift-V, right arrow, and then -H. Up, let's go Control, left, 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 right, Python, and let's run it. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Let's just take away the H. Okay, still some issue here. It could be Python 3. So let's see if we can run it with Python 3. That might make it work. And it did not. So this is kind of interesting. It looks like Impact is not actually running correctly. We could try to update it. Maybe there's some error with the SMB server, or maybe it's just outdated or something similar. Or we could just be using the wrong version of it. So if you notice up here, there's another path to it. Let's try this one. Copy. Let's just use sudo python Control-Shift-V, enter. Let's see if we do Python 3. There we go. Sometimes you just have to play with stuff before you get it right. Okay, so now we've got this here, and it tells you You just want to run smb server.py and then a share name and a share path. Well, let's go ahead and do that. So we can do up arrow, get this back, and then our share name is just going to name it prevesc, and the path is going to be the current folder, which is my home directory. That's what this tilde means. Boxes Arctic. All right, so we've got that ready. Control B, shift quote, IPA, right arrow to autocomplete, and we see our IP is 10.10.14.22. Exit. Let's go back to the Windows box and see if we can grab it. Ten 14.22 prevesc, enter. Now, this might not work because I think you have to enable SMB version 2 support for this to work. For example, if I open up a command prompt, and actually this is definitely not going to work, because if you look at ipconfig, you see I'm on the 192 network for my ETH0 adapter, and I'm trying to get to a host that's on the hack the box VPN adapter IP, right? So that's not going to work. They're in two different subnets. So let's Control Z to end this, and let's Control B quote again, IPA, and let's look for the ETH adapter. We've got the IP here. This is the one we should try to access from the other system. So Control B up, and let's just make sure we're using SMB2 support, because Windows 10 in general likes to use this newer version. It's not the newest version. SMB3 is newer than SMB2, but I think we need to at least enable this flag in order to allow access to the system. So it's right arrow, and let's go ahead and put it in right here. SMB2 support. And it's already in use. So what we can do is we can say netstat sudo. It's saying the port is already in use. 445. You can see it's still listening. Python 3, thempacket SMB server is listening with this PID. So we can kill that PID. 6004. Up. Let's try to get back. And we're good to go. We have the IP 192.168.0.38. You can copy that. And then prevesc. And bam, just like that, we've got access there. So let's go ahead and copy over Watson. All right, so we've got Watson here. Let's go back to our attacker machine. Let's make sure it's here. And we've got Watson, file Watson. And you can see it's a 64-bit executable with a .NET assembly. So let's get this over to our shell. Control B3 to go back to the exploitation tab. Let's make sure we still have the shell here. We do. So we need to find a way of getting it. So we can actually do that by just doing this access like this. So we can say net. We can just do 10.10. What is it? 14.22. Was that our IP? Watson.exe. Let's see if this works. Let's try running it. So Control B4. Let's see what's going on here. It says it can't connect. That's because Control B3, the path is actually prevesc, right? Prevesc, backslash, and then let's go ahead and remove this. Now it runs. That's beautiful. Control B, left bracket, page up. You can see we got it to run. That means we compiled it successfully, and it's actually working here. And we notice that there are a few vulnerabilities, 5 vulns. So we should be able to use any one of these in order to escalate our privileges. Let's go down the list. So first I see MS10-073, and it gives us a link to the exploit DB, right? So let's go ahead and grab this, copy, and let's see what we can do. This is for Windows XP and Windows 7, which I believe Server 2008 is based on the Windows 7 kernel, but I could be wrong there. So this is actually a C program. It looks like we might need to compile it. Actually, this is showing the output of WinDebug. It looks like this is a Windows debugger. So where's the actual code? Looks like the code starts here. Now we don't have compilation instructions for the CPP file, so we could just try to guess how this works, or we could look for a precompiled version. And one of the places I like to go for that is just Google, right? So let's go all the way up. And what is this? MS Alt Tab MS10-073, right? See that? Control C, Alt Tab. I love to copy and paste. Let's see. Google. Control V. Oops. Looks like it didn't copy and paste correctly. GitHub. Let's see, what do we have here? So this looks like another C file, and it's actually a text file, but it looks like it's a C file, and there are no compilation instructions. I try to stay away from those because it's a little bit harder to get those to compile if you don't really know how to compile it. So I'm using this Windows exploit gesture. Let's see if we can search for that. Control F, MS10. This is just a tool that suggests exploits, sort of like Watson, but doesn't actually contain the compiled binary. So this is not one that we want. Let's keep going down the list. We went to the exploit DB. We've already been there. I'm not seeing like a precompiled version of it. We could search the SecWiki. These guys have a lot of precompiled binaries. We can go to Windows kernel exploits. Just do a quick search to see if we see it here. And I'm not seeing it. That's leading me to think this probably isn't a good one to use. So we're going to scrap this idea for a moment, and let's go back to our list. MS10-092. Again, let's go back to Google. GitHub. And SecWiki. It's actually coming up there. This looks like a Ruby file. That's what the .rb extension means. But it looks like it's Metasploit, which we want to stay away from in general, because if you're practicing for the OSCP, you can't actually use Metasploit to deliver payloads in this fashion. So if that's the case, we're going to have to avoid this particular exploit. We could search a little bit further to see if there's a non-Metasploit variant. Let's see. Control F, V. We've got one here. And this is another Metasploit. Looks like it's just a copy of the SecWiki one. So yeah, we're not going to be able to use this one. Alt Tab. MS11-046. Let's see what this is. Again, there's an exploit DB link. Let's just go for the precompiled binary. In a real engagement, you wouldn't actually use a precompiled binary. You'd want to, you'd want to download the solution file so that you can confirm that you're not compiling an exploit that contains a backdoor, right, into the target customer's environment. SecWiki again. We've got some C files here. We've got a standalone executable. This is showing some promise, and it looks like you just run the executable, and then you get a shell. Here you can see they're running the executable. User K18 with password K18 was added to the administrators group. And now you can see K18 is a part of administrators, right? And you can see it's actually running on legacy hardware, 2003, Windows Server 2003, Windows 7. This one might hold some promise for us. Let's go ahead and grab this guy. It doesn't look like there's anything to compile either. It looks like it's pre-compiled. So it's either this one or this one. I'm not sure which one. But it's going to be one of these executables, most likely. So let's just go ahead and clone the entire repo. Doesn't look like that's going to be possible easily. Let's just go ahead and grab this one. Right-click, copy link location, Alt-Tab, and let's go back to Control-B4. Let's do a sudo make directory exploits, and then sudo move Watson into exploits. Don't forget the O. All right. Having some issues here, as you can see. All right, so we've got it there. CD exploits, and then let's just do sudo git, sudo wget Control-Shift-V, download that one, and let's grab the other one as well, the other exe file, this one. Control, copy link location, Alt-Tab, delete this whole thing, Control-Shift-V, enter ls. All right, so we've got both of them, and let's go back up, Control-B, Control-Z to end. Let's do a netstat to make sure we completely kill off this. Sudo kill -9 6124. I'm getting that from here. This is the PID of Impacket. I'll start with Impacket again, but this time we'll start from a different directory. So we're going to go to CD exploits. Start Impacket from this directory. Maybe the same thing, prevesc. Great. Now let's go back to our shell, Control-B3. Q to get out, and let's see if we can access the shell name. What was the shell name? Control-B3, Control-B4. Here we go. The name is this. Let's copy that selection. Control-B3, switch back to the other tab. Control-Shift-V. Let's see if it works. Now it looks like it killed my shell immediately after I executed it. Now, if this happens, it can be annoying, but we just need to get our shell back. So let's do a Control-B, and let's see if we can get our shell back. So remember, this is our shell, the shell.jsp. We need to host it as a web server. And then let's restart our netcat listener. Control-B, quote, curl, and this should give us the shell. Control-B-Z, let's see what happened. Well, it says file not found. That's because we need to run the task again. So Control-B-Z, Alt-Tab, let's go back to our tasks, and let's run it. All right, let's confirm it's there. Good, we see it there. So Alt-Tab, let's try this again. And this is a result of actually running the task. It's downloaded our shell to the victim server, and we're going to execute the reverse shell, which will connect back to us in port 443. This is the execution of the reverse shell here. And it still didn't work. Let's see what's happening here. Control-B-Z. It's saying it's not found. right click, copy link location. See what's going on here. It's because we had the wrong name. So let's just backspace this out. And the wrong syntax. We didn't have the HTTP prefix. Control BZ to zoom back out and see what happens this time. All right, we've got the shell. Control BZ. Let's go ahead and just copy and paste this. And it looks like that actually crashed our session, so let's try a different one. Let's grab this. Control B, right arrow, Control B, right arrow, Control Shift V. Let's do Control B3, Control B4, and we want this guy here. Copy, Control B3, Control Shift V, enter. And we are not system, so it did not work. And we could just try copying it. It could just be that we're running it out of the wrong directory. It could be that there's like app locker or whitelisting or something that's preventing execution. Let's try this. Let's go to a different directory. And then let's copy it. Alright, the file has been copied. dir, it's there. Let's try running it. It almost seems like it's trying to connect back to us in another shell. See how it's hanging like that? We could go back and see if there's something we're missing. Well, it says just run the command this way. So it looks like, you know, this exploit might be out of off the table as well. You can see nothing's happening here. Control Z, it's in that. Let's get our shell back. Control B, quote. Let's just execute it again. Let's go down the list. Let's see what else we have. Sorry, Control B. Up to go to the top pane, and then Control B left bracket to scroll up. So where did we leave off? We looked into the top three, right? These guys. This guy and then this guy. So we have two more in this list. Let's see what we can find. SecWiki has something. Looks like a zip file. And it looks like you need the PID or the process ID of something here. So let's see here. You're running the executable. It says, okay, we need a PID. You put the PID 1656 of the command shell that you want to inject into, and then you get a new prompt. But you see, this is all GUI related, so it's all interactive. We don't have a GUI. And it looks like it's Windows 7 as well. It does say server 2008 R2, but it says SP1. We don't have SP1. So this is probably not going to work. There's a solution file. We could try to compile it and, you know, work through that, but because it says doesn't look like it says because it says it's SP1 and it looks like you need a GUI. I don't think we should try this one. Finally, we have this guy right here. Again, SecWiki shows up. We've got a C++ file that we can compile. Server 2008 is in the list, but it's Metasploit. So what are we going to do here? Well, there's a couple of options. We're kind of running out of options here for this. Now, there is another tool called the Windows Exploit Suggester, and we could try that. And we might get some different exploits to suggest. So let's go and clone this repo. Let's go down here, Control B4, and let's just do sudo git clone, Control Shift V. Let's get this guy. Okay, and there it is. So how do we run this? Let's see. Sudo, let's just do a cat on readme. Control B, left bracket, page up. Oh, it looks like we need a database. And looks like we need a text file that actually contains the system information output. So we can do that quite easily. Let's go back, Control B3. And let's do system info. Control B Z to make it full screen. Let's just copy this. Just old school copy. Right click, copy. Control B Z to go back small. Control B 4 to switch back to this tab. Sudo vim systeminfo.txt. We're going to make a new file. We're just going to name it this systeminfo.txt. I to go into insert mode. Control Shift V to paste. Escape to go back into command mode. G twice to go up to the top. And you can see that we've got everything here. Capital G to go down to the bottom. Control colon Q, bang, exits. Okay, so we can do cat just to make sure it's there. And that's because we didn't save it. Yeah, I, Control Shift V, escape, Shift ZZ to save. Now cat. And it's there. Good. Now, so it's always good to verify that you've saved your file before you run it because it could be empty, right? So now we can just run this. And Control B Z to make it full screen. Let's give it what it wants. So it looks like it wants a couple things. Required flag to even run the script. So dash dash update required. See that here. Let's do that first. And permission denied. Okay. So we can actually do Control U sudo bang bang to run it as root. Control A to go back to the beginning. We have sudo in front. This should work. And it's done. Great. And it wrote this file here. All right. So it looks like we have what we need. And let's just go ahead and run this tool now. Let's go back to the help file again. So what do we need now? Feed in an input file that contains system info. Well, we have that. System info.txt. Database, the file that contains the Microsoft Security Bulletin. Okay, well, I think we have that too. I just press tab. You can see this file showed up. This looks like the Microsoft MS Security Bulletin, SB, right? XLS file. So let's go ahead and use that. 2020 tab complete. And do we need anything else? I don't see it. Let's press enter. Very cool. So now we get to results, and some show an M, some show an E. So the E is the exploit DB, M is Metasploit. Now, so we want to look at mainly the E's because we're trying to avoid Metasploit if possible. Now, basically looking for the E's that we haven't already selected with Watson. So this exploit right here at 12.037 is Internet Explorer, which might be possible. we might be able to get some escalations here. But it's Internet Explorer, and these generally require user interaction in order to exploit. So we'll put this in our back pocket. Here's elevation of privilege, MS11-011. We did not try this one yet. What else do we have here? And then it looks like we have these other two that we could check out later as well. 1059 and 10047. Did we already use those? Control B up. Oops. Page up. No, looks like we did not. 1073 and 1092. These are different, so we could try these. So we have a couple we can try. Let's try this MS11-011. Alt-Tab. You know where we're going. Now, one thing I want to mention, you might want to say, why are we just Googling for this stuff? This isn't hacking. Now, you could try to find your own zero-day. That certainly is an option where you fuzz the application and you come up with your own CV keys. This takes a significant amount of skill that is well beyond the scope of this course. If you do find your zero-day, and that means you have your own privilege, the right thing to do would be to report it to Microsoft, get a CV assigned, and then go ahead and possibly release the details to the public. The other thing is, that when you run these exploits, there's a chance that it's not going to actually work as expected, because remember, you're exploiting or you're abusing functionality in Windows, and so it may not always work the way it's supposed to. You're basically bypassing the normal functionality of the application. You're using it in the way that the developers never intended. So don't get frustrated if things don't work exactly the way you want it to work. Let's try this one. Copy link location. Tab. Control B4. Control BZ. And let's see, Control B3. Where are we here? I'm getting a little bit lost with all these windows. Control B4, let's see. Okay, cd .. Let's do it here. wget, sudo wget, Control Shift V. Put the executable down. Control B3. Let's see if we can grab this one. And we are still Talus, right? If you look at who am I to do priv, we don't have all the privileges we need, which shows that we're not escalated, right? If I do net user Talus, I'm still not a member of system or administrators, so that did not work. The other one is 1059 and 1047. Let's try those. SecWiki. Another one. This one looks pretty straightforward. You just run the executable with the shell and then the command you want to run a system. Churrasquito. It's probably in a zip file. Let's go ahead and clone this. You can see everything that's here. All right, so there's a lot of different stuff here. We don't need all that. All we need is this right here, and possibly this file. So right click, copy link location, Control B4, Q to get out of that. Let's delete this. Let's grab this new one. Control Shift V, and let's grab the other one. Copy link location. Okay. Notice I just typed dir. That's kind of funny, right? Sometimes that works if you're using ZSH. So let's see if we can unzip this thing. And it says it cannot find zip file directory in one of these files. That's kind of unfortunate because it looks like from this exploit, that's what we actually need. Now, it could be that this file is actually this file renamed. So we could try that. If we just go back to Control B3, MS1059. This might just kill our shell. And of course I didn't actually run it correctly, because if you look, you can see we're supposed to give it a path and then a command to execute. So let's try that. Control Z. Get our shell back. Run this. And when the shell comes back, we will try to do it the way that the developer tells us to do it. Not the way we want to do it. Control B, left, 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 just to make it a little bit bigger. And it looks like it failed. Control B, Z, because it's not there. Control B, Z. Again, we need to make sure that we run the task. And then once that runs, we'll try it again. That's because, of course, I made the same problem I made last time. Really got to pay attention to what you're doing. Control B, Z. Control Shift V. And did that run? Something happened. So we might have just added a user named 123 with password 123 to the system. If we do net user, it's not there. So the command completed successfully, but it doesn't look like it actually created our new user with escalated privileges. All right, so back to the drawing board. Looks like we only have one exploit left. That would be this guy right here. And this looks like it's a RAR file. There's a zip here. The way you use it looks like test user right now is in a test group. You run this exploit, and then I get a new interactive system shell. So this probably isn't going to work either, because you can see it's popping it's in the GUI, and there's also a Metasploit module. So, at this point, you're probably going to want to use Metasploit. We've gone through the exhaustive list of all these exploits. None of them seem to be relevant. A lot of them seem to be made for Metasploit, so I think that would be the next course of action. And if you're studying for the OSCP, you do get one Metasploit burn, right? So you can use Metasploit once, and this would be our one time, right? So let's go ahead and start it up. Sudo msf db run. This is a better way. If you do sudo msf console, you still have to start the Postgres database separately, which means when you search, it's going to be slow. If you use msfdb run, it does all that for you. So we can do search, Cold Fusion. And what do we have here? A couple that are ranked excellent. And let's see what we can do here. Which one should we use? Not that one. File upload. Here's another file upload. We already got the password, so we don't need this one. This is XML entity injection. This is a version check. Sorry, that's a version check. This is unauthenticated root RCE. So this one might be relevant, but it says Linux. Let's go ahead and start down here. So number 7, use 7. Show options. Set our port to 8500 because that's what we are using, not 80. Set our host to 10.10.10.11. Set L host to ton 0. Set L port 4444. That's fine. Target is 0. That works. Run. Upload failed. Okay, so you could do show advanced options. You can do verbose, so we can see why it's failing. Set verbose to true. Run it again. All right, we could try proxying it through burp to figure out what's going on here. See if there's like a proxy option. Let's see here. Q, Control B, bracket, / proxy. it's not actually searching the way I thought it would. Normally you can actually search through the text by doing it that way, but it didn't work. Interesting. It could just be that this wasn't the correct exploit to use. Or we could be doing something else wrong. That is our IP. The upload is failing for some reason. Let's go ahead and do a search again for Cold Fusion. And let's try number 5 this time. Looks like they're the same kind. Notice it has that same sort of CKE editor in both of them. So maybe this one will work. Number 5. And they both say excellent rank, so you would think that one of these should work. Assuming that the version is correct. So we can say use 5, show options, set our hosts 10, 10, 10, 11, set our port 8500, looks like it's already set to that. Set lhost 10.0, run. And this is actually sending a JSP payload, so that looks more promising because we know that's what we want. Let's see, exploit completed but no session was created. Interesting. Set verbose to true, run again. This does have an option for proxies, so we might be able to set the proxy through burp and see if we can figure out what's going on. Show options. Set proxies to, let's see, it says type host and port. So you want HTTP, host is 10, host is 127.0.0.1, and the port is 8080. Then we can go to burp, proxy, options, add a listener, 8080. Actually, it's already listening on port 8080, so we should already get it. What we need to do is probably bind it to 8081, then redirect it to 8500. So we're going to redirect 10, 10, 10, 11, 8500 whenever it comes into this port 8081. So let's set this to 8081, run it, and we need to set this to true, it looks like. Control Shift V, run. It should show up in burp. Probably need intercept on. We might not have gotten it in time. Just go down to the bottom. That's us. That's not the exploit, I don't believe. So intercept is on. It's probably going to time out. We'll try it again. And I'm not even really sure why this is not proxying through burp. Type host port. It looks right. 8081. Let's see if I go to 8081, what happens. It goes to burp. See how it intercepted it? And it redirects it here. So that's working. Must have something wrong with the syntax here. Let's see what we can find on the Googles. Exploit proxy. Set proxies. They have it in all caps, so maybe that's what we need. Yep, caught it right away. And And what do we see here? This is what we're trying to send through. And we're trying to send this shell back out. So let's do Control R to send a repeater. Control Shift R to go to repeater, press send. Let's observe the response. It's just saying file not found. Something about this exploit just isn't working. It's just not finding, I'm guessing it's not finding this file here, which it generated as part of the exploit process. All right, so back to the drawing board. Search Cold Fusion. We tried this one, and we tried this one. This could be relevant. 4. It says Linux, though. That's the only thing. Let's try it, though. Use 4. Show options. Set our host 10, 10, 10, 11. Set our port 8500. Set L host ton 0. L port's good. Let's just do run. Our hosts. What there? And then I set our hosts up here. Interesting. Set our hosts 10, 10, 10, 11. Show options. That was pretty weird. Okay, let's try it now. Not sure why it didn't work the first time. And this also failed. Target is not vulnerable. Set target 0. Trying to set it to automatic explicitly so that it can automatically identify the target. And still did not work. So let's take a step back and let's think about this. Everything we're trying is failing. And this is actually what can happen on the OSCP. You know, all the privescs you try just don't work. Let's just look for local exploits. So this right here, this local exploit suggester, is a way to have Metasploit automatically detect the most likely exploit for this particular system for the target. Let's go ahead and use this. And when we do that, we can see that this is a PostX module, right? So we need to already have an existing Metasploit session, which of course we don't, because we didn't use Metasploit to gain initial access to this box. So let's restart. This is exactly what you have to do in real engagements.